Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Hello, everyone. I appreciate you taking the time, and I want to thank you for attending today's webinar. My name is Ty Nunez, and I'm excited about today's webinar because we're going to cover a very hot topic in the beverage industry, which are clubs. By the looks of today's attendees, we have craft beer, we have hard cider, we even have a couple distilleries. So I'm going to try and cater the conversation to really include everyone, although I know some of you have significantly different rules and regulations that you might be dealing with. I also understand that some of you can't ship product, you can't maybe even sell alcohol on premise or really even just use the term club at all. So there may be times when you're just thinking, we can't do that. Go ahead and stick with me. We may cover some things you can do, or we may cover some things that you're able to get away with to get around some of your restrictions. The webinar agenda. Today's webinar should only take about 30 to 45 minutes. I'm going to try to keep it as brief as possible. I'm going to go quick and zip through as much information as we can in the time we have. So if you miss something or get pulled away for any reason, please just email me your questions, or we can set up a time afterwards to go over some of your specific requirements, or again some of those specific questions that you might have. Again, the agenda is going to go as follows. I'm going to bounce between PowerPoint and web demos. So some of you folks are like me, or you get a little tired at staring at PowerPoint slides. We're going to jump into some live environment, kind of show you how people are using our system for some of these clubs, and gives you kind of a good real world idea of how they're being run. First we're going to talk about, High Jump and TrueCommerce, Brewers Edge. I'm going to plug our company. We obviously they're the ones allowing me to put on this webinar. So I'm going to get some shameless plugs in there. We're going to discuss who we are and how we're making an impact in the craft space. We're then going to discuss some of the benefits of running a craft club. What we've seen from some of our customers, what we've heard from some of our customers and our clients as to what the clubs have done for their business. Next, we'll discuss some of the popular club methods and strategies and dive into some of the web demos on how these are set up and how people are taking club signups. I will then show you how our customers are effectively processing and creating those club orders. We'll tell you how we're kind of managing the pickup process and the fulfillment process and facilitating both of those procedures. We'll then get into the customer management. So, one of the aspects about having a club that a lot of people will kind of miss is, once the club is up and running, how do we do things like, change the credit card on file, update the shipping address, etc. After all that, if we have some time, we will dive into some questions. I will tell you at this point that in the GoToWebinar panel that you have on your screen, there is a Q&A section there. So as we're kind of going throughout the demonstration, if you have questions, you see something you're just not sure of, feel free to throw a question in there and we'll try to get to those at the end. If I don't get to your question, don't be frustrated. Those all get emailed to me. I'll specifically answer those after we are finished via email as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump in. So some of you may have had some preliminary discussions about TrueCommerce and about Brewers Edge with me in the past, but what I thought we'd do is just quickly recap, who and what Brewers Edge is prior to going through all these details. TrueCommerce Brewers Edge is a suite of technology modules within the TrueCommerce ecosystem that have been positioned to address the needs of the craft beverage industry. What you'll see on this slide here is that we offer modules or pieces of technology such as the taproom point of sale, the e-commerce platform. Today we're talking about club and special release. We also have EDI functionality, and then we have some, what we call operational insight, or advanced analytics packages and reporting that can be provided. So we're providing, kind of various technology modules to our craft companies, based upon their specific requirements. And really, this is just a portion of what we do here and provide from a technology standpoint. So the big thing I want you to take away from this what is Brewer's Edge is that we're not a single product. We're not a single technology offering. We're a series of technology offerings that really can be used in conjunction with one another, or they can be used independently of one another. The case in point here is today, if you're just interested in club and lottery and special release functionality, that's all you can purchase, just that, or you can utilize just that piece of our technology. And then let's say down the road you need taproom POS or e-commerce, you just add those modules on. So now that shameless plug is over, now you kind of understand who we are. Let's get to the good stuff. Let's talk about some of the craft clubs and show you some of the technology. One thing I like to get out of the way before we kind of jump into some of the aspects here is kind of the biggest rebuttal that we get. It's look, we can't ship alcohol direct. I get that. Until the states loosen up their laws, there's not much we can do. But there are ways around this. So customers have become very creative on how they manage this process. The first bullet point you'll see there is just a taproom pickup. I think a lot of the customers or the buyers on your side, the consumers on your side, they understand that they just can't get beer shipped. So they know when they sign up for a club, that requires them to go to the tap room and pick that bottle up, or that item up. So taproom pickup is one way to get around that. There's also pickup parties. So the taproom pickup is a good reason to have pickup parties or additional events specific to the club. You can look at Toppling Goliath. They have their huge pickup parties that are significant events for them on a quarterly basis. You can then have offsite events. So if you look at Cigar City and the Punta Day, and you look at how they will kind of combine this big offsite event with the club pickup process, you can see that it's very successful, and it's a good way to kind of massage the two things together to accommodate the customer and the requirement of picking the item up. We then also have trustee functionality, or there's trustees in the industry. And, for those of you who are not familiar with this process, it's ultimately just, someone in the region who's agreed to pick up the club item for the customer and then facilitate a handoff from there, or delivery from there. Just kind of really depends on how they want to get the beer to the end customer at that point. But, we're kind of assigning someone else via a trustee system to pick up the beers for the customer, or the alcohol for the customer. We then have Golden State Overnight. And Golden State Overnight is actually something, on the West Coast, if you're a West Coast brewery or cidery or distillery, it might be something to take a look at. They have expanded their reach into the states you see here on the screen. So in a lot of cases, let's say just like in Washington or California, you are able to ship direct to consumer, but you'll have a problem finding a carrier who's willing to do that. So maybe UPS or FedEx won't pick up the alcohol and deliver it based upon their own rules. Well, Golden State Overnight is a good way to get around that. So you can see here, they currently work in various states on the West Coast, and it might be an option for some of you. So again, I just kind of wanted to get that out there and show you some of the ways people are getting around not being able to ship direct. So what are some of the benefits of the craft club? Some of you may already understand the benefits, which is why you're here today. But for others considering setting up a club, let me just cover a few points. And the first point is going to be establishing and getting brand loyalty, or having brand ambassadors. I mean, the truth of the matter is that competition in the beverage space is tough, to say the least. And we all know that it's extremely difficult for you to build what might be traditionally considered a loyal customer. There's just so many choices out there that it's tough for you to build loyalty. Establishing a club gives your customers the ability to commit to your brand, and it will provide them with some extra incentive to make the effort to kind of pass over those other brands and come back directly to you. I mean, it is a lot of times about what you put into the glass, but sometimes just that club can add that extra incentive to get that customer to come back to you instead. So additionally, club members are walking sales reps. So they're walking brand ambassadors. They love to tell others about the clubs that they are part of and why you might be missing out if you're not part of the club. So, it's the benefit here is again building that loyalty to your brand and then establishing kind of those outside ambassadors. Another big benefit here is that upsell and that cross-sell or repeat purchase potential. The first time a customer walks into your brewery and purchases from you, you may not typically be turning a profit on that sale if you consider all the factors that it took to get them there and get them into the door to buy your products. Ultimately, you're probably in the red overall. So establishing a club gives you kind of that next reason to reach out to that client list who's ripe for repeat business and upselling and cross-selling potential. If you can kind of see, I'll kind of jump actually to a web environment here real quick. You can kind of see if we look at how beer clubs technically work, and I'll go ahead and just add one in here to give you a visual of that incentive. As we add a beer club item to the cart, you can see a members only section opens up in an online environment. Now we're just using an online environment, but if in a tap room, you can do this as well and simulate this as well. But ultimately, we've opened up a series of products that are specific to the members. Now, these are items that you're obviously going to get full price for. So you're charging a premium to have that members only hat, members only shirt, members only glass. It's a way to incentivize people and get them into purchasing more product. And it's not just merchandise. So one of the misconceptions that a lot of breweries or wine clubs or distilleries might have is that when you establish a club, your responsibility or your only selling opportunity is going to be with the alcohol itself, or just maybe those one quarterly releases that you've agreed to. But as you have limited batches that come out, maybe there's only 100 bottles available. We can put those in an environment where only club members have access to them, and you're immediately selling those products out. And we can do those kind of things within like allocation functionality and whatnot. So there is a lot of ability to upsell and cross-sell those existing club members. Now, by creating a club, you're also telling your most important and most profitable customers that you appreciate their commitment, and really to show that appreciation, you're going to give them kind of the VIP treatment whenever possible. And this can kind of vary across platforms and across kind of your company offering, but this can just be something like first access to special event tickets, maybe even a special section at those events specific to club members. There can be that club member only merch like we spoke about that kind of goes along to that VIP treatment. Those pickup parties that we mentioned earlier, those can be club member only events that others will want to be part of, kind of wonder what's going on. And then maybe you can stretch it out a little further, like offering kind of a club member or almost a VIP line at the tap room. So maybe they can go in and purchase the product without skipping, or purchase the product and skip through the lines at the same time. So they're offering the ability to be exclusive, to get that VIP treatment as a nice little benefit to the actual consumer, but also giving that VIP treatment will go a long way. You can also build valuable relationships. So a lot of club members, they want to, for lack of a better term, they want to be running the business that you're currently running. So they want to have a brewery themselves. They want to have a distillery themselves. So they'll be the first ones to tell you, how to run your brewery, how, what type of cider you should make next. And while it may be a lot to handle at times, what it really boils down to is that you have a lot in common with these people. And it's a valuable relationship to have. And by establishing a club, you're kind of you're kind of formally acknowledging that you have mutual taste with this customer, and customers typically will appreciate that and add a lot of value to being part of your brand. Then you have the recurring revenue stream, and this is the big one. This is what all the CFOs involved with your companies will love. But a successful club can provide a profitable, steady revenue stream that really adds predictability to what can be considered a very unpredictable environment. Let's face it, there really are no guarantees when it comes to business, but especially in that direct to consumer or kind of that retail environment. Clubs, they help solidify a portion of your anticipated revenue stream, and the ability to rely on a somewhat guaranteed source of revenue significantly reduces your overall risk and ultimately increases your brewery's value. So having that reoccurring revenue stream, knowing that every quarter you're going to have 1,000 reorders at $300 a piece is a very nice, predictable, recurring revenue stream that again adds value to the brewery. Okay, so now that we're sold on the clubs, how the heck do they work, right? So how do you get people to sign up to be part of the club? How do you incorporate this into your existing business? And if there's one thing that's consistent between the various clubs that we've come across is that they're all inconsistent. Everyone seems to be doing something just a bit different, but most clubs really kind of boil down to three primary methods, or we try to at least cater people towards three primary methods of running a club. And so let's dive into each one here just a little bit. The first one's going to be kind of the simple sign up. And this is really your wine club approach. And this happens a lot if you are establishing a new club, or maybe you're just not quite sure what the response is going to be. You don't want to create any limitations on it. You're basically taking everybody you can to sign up. This is very easy, and you kind of see some of the benefits here. You get a lot of people to sign up for these clubs. It's free to sign up typically, so you get a lot of people to sign up. It's pretty easy to maintain because it is free. One of the disadvantages is that when you actually go to create the club and charge the card, you might see some buyer's remorse, people who signed up at a time when they had the money, but at the time you go to actually ship them the product or tell them the product is ready to be picked up, they'll come back to you and say, we need to cancel this. So again, it's an easy way to get started, but it's not as guaranteed as some of the other methods. And let me just kind of show you this in a web environment as well. Kind of get out of here real quick. As we get into how this process works, we have kind of three clubs that we're going to show on the screen here, but this can be done in a number of different ways. So if you think about in the tap room or tasting room, you would take the customer's information, essentially allowing them to sign up. I've seen people do this on let's say a piece of paper. We allow the customers to do this through the web environment, so I can sign up online for free, which then recognizes me as a club member and allows me to submit all of my information. So as I get into essentially a checkout, like a product, I'm adding in all my customer information, my bill to, my ship to, and then it's saving me as a club member. I can put my card on file in a secure environment and not having to worry about writing that down. So this is one way to do that. You can also do it through, it's just simple like web form. I'm just going to submit my information here and click submit order, kind of on a single page versus in a shopping style environment. So customers can kind of just register. Other customers have done this through, just their own web forms. So they're kind of, it's just customers are adding in names, email addresses, phone numbers, and submitting that as being part of the club. So kind of that free to sign up process is one way to do that. Again, you get lots of customers who sign up, but ultimately, there's not as much of a commitment. The next club sign-up strategy here would be what we kind of call the pay-to-play, and this comes in when you're talking Toppling Goliath, when you're thinking about that Cigar City approach. This is you pay up front, so it's $300 to join the club. That allows you, 3 bottles or 4 bottles or 6 bottles, whatever that might be, through a certain time period, which is to later be released. So I pay $300 to sign up today. Next quarter, I'm going to get notification that my bottles are ready to be picked up. This has a benefit because obviously you get the cash up front. Okay, so you have this anticipated cash flow. You kind of know what you have financially ahead of time, which then allows you to know how much time and energy can you invest in creating the limited release beer. It also adds predictability. So every quarter, if you have a club that's continuously sold out, every quarter, every release or every renewal, you'll know exactly how many people you're going to have renew, or pretty close to exactly how many people you're going to have to renew. I guess the downside, if you had to think of one on that, are the expectations. So if you charge someone $200, $300 to be part of a club, they're going to expect to get a return on that investment, whether that be in the quality of the release, or maybe the customer service and benefits that come along with being part of that club member. So it's something to think about, that it's a great idea to get all that money up front, but once you do, there's some pressure behind it. So that process, again, within a web environment is relatively simple with the club management technology. You can do that a couple different ways. Again, it's just like buying a product through our system. So, whether they're a shipping customer or a pickup customer, they're just simply adding that item to the cart. We now recognize them as a club member. And then when they go to check out and add all of their information, we know which club they are going to be part of. This is something, since they are paying while they are signing up, that you want to be sure to have within this type of secure environment. So you don't want to be, there are still customers who take and write down credit card numbers for clubs. This is not something I recommend doing at this point. Get people to sign up through a secure web environment. Therefore, all of the data is collected under the highest level of encryption. It conforms to PCI security standards. You're doing everything you can to protect your customers' information, essentially. So doing it through a web form really facilitates that process. So again, it's as simple as the customer adding that product to the cart and checking out. Another reason why you can do this in a web environment is if you combine your sign up process with, let's just say, your existing online store. I can sign up for the club, be recognized as a club member, and you can see club members save 15% on all purchases. I can go and continue shopping. So as I click on clothing here, I'm now getting that club member price. So the system is smart enough to recognize that this is now going to be a club member. When they add this to the cart, go ahead and decrease that cost. So another good reason to put that in a web environment. Again, if you just want to have it be a sign-up form, you can still put it in a web secure environment. It's just you can create it in what's called like a direct checkout or a direct sign-up form here. So you're kind of eliminating that whole being part of the online store, traditional online store environment, and this is just kind of a one-page sign-up process. The third method that has become increasingly popular over the last several years, due to some severe trial and error for club companies, is the lottery method. And just to kind of give you a little overview on what the lottery method is, this comes into play a lot when you have the pay-to-play format here. So let's just say you have 1,000 spots available for your club. And when you go through your renewals, there are 100 people who didn't renew. So now you have 100 open spots. The mistake that a lot of breweries were making in the past was that they would say, hey, we have 100 open spots. Let's put this on Facebook and send everybody to my online store or to my web form to sign up. And the first 100 people who get it, get it. Well, what happens with the popularity of the craft industry is that we started to bring down servers. So, I'll be the first to say that we are part of that issue. But we have solved that problem with the lottery method. We've eliminated the fire sale. So basically, your customers can sign up to be, on that waiting list for your club at any time. So you can make the lottery sign up process available, take as many customers as you would like over the course of, a year, or, for however long you would like. When there are 100 open spots, you run a lottery, you pick winners. And we have some algorithms built into place into our system that allows us to, kind of weigh heavily on people who have been passed over. So we select those winners and we tell them, hey, you have 24 hours to put in your $200 to be part of the club. If they don't do that, we pick new winners. And then we, kind of keep that going until those 100 spots are full. Again, that eliminates, fire sales. That eliminates bringing your servers down. That eliminates a lot of frustration that comes along with that. I guess the disadvantage to the lottery method is that there are always losers. Good example there is I have a buddy who plays the Powerball quite a bit, and he still gets mad every time he doesn't win. So even though you have this, hey, it's a game of chance, you'll get people who are still frustrated about that process. So the lottery method works pretty well. And again, to show you that in the web environment, it's just a sign up process again. So as we go into the clubs, throughout the year, you can create the lottery as a $0 item, or just have people submit a registration form of sorts, kind of again like this process, or maybe even simpler where it's just basic information. They don't have to put in a credit card to be part of the lottery, so we may want to reduce some of the content that they have to add to it. But ultimately, you need to be able to pool those lottery customers and know who they are. So when you do run the lottery process, you're able to kind of differentiate those from your standard consumers who maybe have signed up for your email list. So relatively straightforward. Again, we handle that all through web forms and facilitate that process all through kind of a web environment. And then, I know I said 3 there, but I thought of another one here, and this is really the no alcohol involved club. And this one does come up. It is something to consider if you're kind of tossing around the idea of, will people engage with your brand? This is one that just requires very, very minimal effort, but again, still engages your customers. This could just be part of, hey, you're going to get discounted merch, sign up to be part of our list and get discounted merch, or you think maybe the mug club approach. There's really just, you're not going to ship product. You're not going to offer limited releases. You're just trying to engage with the customer and get them to commit to the brand. And obviously the disadvantage of that is you got to be creative in what you're selling, because you're not selling the core product. So that's definitely something to consider as well. So we did talk about how some of those processes work. Let's just jump back to that and recap that real quick. So from a beer club standpoint, we have 3 various methods that typically come up. We have the wine club method, which is free to sign up. We're going to take one, we're going to take them all, and then we are going to provide product at a later date based upon whatever you want to send. Then we have the pay to play, which is, we call them the middlehead club here, which has a preset amount. It's $200 to sign up. That allows you 4 beers throughout the quarter, or 8 beers throughout the quarter, and you pay in advance for that. And then kind of to add to that, we have the lottery functionality. So take people to sign up, pool those people, pull the winners out of the lottery, and go from there. So the various methods of club sign up and club establishing those clubs can really depend on several different factors for your brewery. And again, we try to help find which one is going to fit right for you, depending on where you're at as far as a brewery or cidery or distillery, etc. So, so you can see with the proper technology that you can make signing up for the club and being part of the club not only functional, but have a little fun with it as well. Let's jump back in here. So now that you have all these signups that have come in, and you're really, you're ready to create that first club order for, either shipping or pickup, what do you do? How do you handle all this? And again, this is something that when I speak to a lot of breweries or a lot of companies who have existing clubs and are looking for automation, their processes vary across the board. So, they signed up, they established a club through maybe an event type of sign up functionality, but all that does is take the signups. Now what do you do with all the data once you have it? And we've seen people with extensive spreadsheets with 3,000 4,000 line items on them, credit cards included in all that data. We've seen stacks of binders that customers have tried to convert into a web environment, credit cards written on pieces of paper like I mentioned before. So really, any way you look at it, it was extremely manual. So one of the important things that you'll want to establish is not just how are people signing up for clubs, how do I get club members, what do I do to establish the clubs, but once I have the club members signed up, now what do I do? So, again, with our technology, we have some pretty cool things with that. So let's talk about creating the club orders. So we have all these club members. It's our first shipment. How do we create the club order? And I'll kind of show you within our system how this is done. We have what we call an order management system that we utilize to create these orders. And you can see here, I have a bunch of pre-filled orders in the system. But to give you kind of an idea on how club management technology can kind of automate this function, if you think here, we create what's called a bulk order. We give the order a name, so we say webinar test, for example. Now here we pick up the type of club member we're going to create an order for. So the other thing to think about is you may have 2 to 3 to 4 different clubs. If you think of Cigar City, they have a 1-bottle club and a 2-bottle club. So when they go to create a bulk order, the system that they're utilizing has to have have to be smart enough piece of technology to understand, hey, we're processing this type of order right now. So for the sake of this webinar here, I've created a couple sample customer types. We create this called webinar pickup. So we're gonna take all of our club members that are gonna pick up their bottles, and we're gonna create an order for them. So we click next here. You can see I'm only using one customer, but the process, whether you have 1 or 1,000, is the same. So I would say, let's say if I had 1,000 customers here, it would say 1,000 eligible customers. I can then click place order. This takes me to a web version of my catalog. So here, these are just all the products that I'm offering. I can click on beer here. I select the beer that's going to be part of this club. I click on, this is a pickup, so I'm going to select pickup as the option. I click add to cart. You can do other things at this point. In some cases, club members will include free products, or club members will get free products with their releases. So maybe you're offering a free keychain or a free glass. You can add those items to the cart at this point and create that as part of the actual pickup process or the pickup order. Once we click checkout here, it's relatively simple. We just kind of review the information. Again, if there's 1,000 customers, all 1,000 orders would be submitted when I click submit here. So with just in a couple minutes, I was able to take all of those customers and create an order for them automatically. And again, since we've done things like collecting the credit card ahead of time, we're able just to charge that card right when we submit those orders. We're in a demo environment, so we're running an unbilled status, but the billing status here would then be paid. So once we create that order, we now have a billing status of paid, but if you kind of think of the process, we have 1,000 orders that we potentially just created. So we don't want to let the customer know that this is ready just yet, but we do need to create the orders from, let's say, an inventory or a pick, pack, and ship format. So now I have an order that's listed here that is not marked as ready. So creating the order is relatively simple, but as we kind of get into the next step here, it's how do we process those orders? So how are we letting the customers know in bulk that their items are ready to be picked up, and what procedures do they need to go through to pick up those products? And again, this can kind of vary from tap room to tap room, but for the most part, we're utilizing the technology to automate a lot of that function. So as we kind of think here, if we have 1,000 orders that are listed on this list here, and we need to send out a notification to all 1,000 customers saying, hey, your items are ready to be picked up, we want to do that in batch as well. So we would take, let me grab a number here. We would take all the qualifying orders, and we would run what's called the batch process. So here we're going to go ahead and mark any of those orders that are ready, or that are unready or not ready as ready. We won't charge any cards here. Next, it's going to pull up all 1,000 orders. It's going to say, okay, these are the orders you're referring to. It's going to give you kind of confirmation. Then you click process. When you click process here within our system, we're then sending out the notification to all the customers that the items are ready to be picked up. So it makes that process of not only creating the order, but then processing and notifying the customers that their order is ready. Very, very simple and very automated. And again, I'm just dealing with one order there. I simplified that. But the fact of the matter is you want to have some tools in place that allow you to do those functions in bulk and in automation, or again, you'll get bogged down by just those processes there. Oops. Okay, so then the pickup process. So now that you've notified all the customers that the orders are ready, how do you facilitate that pickup process? What's going to happen now is if you have 1,000 customers you just notified, you're going to have people just flooding into the tap room, let's say, on a regular basis to pick up those bottles. And really what you do from there is going to be, it's going to be dependent upon the process that you have in place internally. But companies who have used our platform have done this a couple of different ways. One, it may be as simple as just having a station dedicated to club pickup located in the tap room. So in certain cases, you may be using various types of point of sale technology that doesn't pull up club customer records. You're not able to see what those club orders were. So you need to kind of get around that. So in some cases, it may just be as simple as having this environment open and saying, okay, Ty is now in the tap room. I want to mark his order as picked up. Who picked that up? And now this order is finished. So this order is now closed out because this item has been picked up. And that is one way that you can do it, is do it with this order management system. Additionally, we have another method that is being used with Cigar City, in that we allow for we have a mobile point of sale platform. So they're using our mobile POS or our Engage app strictly as the station used to facilitate the pickup process. And now, unfortunately, in this web environment, it's difficult to show how that iPad works. But if you can kind of visualize, it is a mobile platform that allows you to mark orders as picked up, and then even have the customer sign for those pickups. So you can kind of pull up a customer's record, pull up their order history, check on an order, have them sign on glass for picked up, hand them their item, and then the database is updated with all that information. So there are various methods, but really what we're trying to get away from is that manual process of checking off an order is picked up through, let's say, an Excel spreadsheet. So that's how that process works. Again, it just varies amongst the brands and how what kind of pieces of technology you have available to you in the tap room. The other aspect of that are the trustees. So in some cases, it may not be the customer who's picking that product up. It may be a trustee. And I'll kind of show this to you here. The trustee process is, the trustees essentially have to register to become trustees. So if we're kind of looking at a customer's record, I can say that, I want to be a trustee, or I can assign someone who is in the system already as a trustee. So it's very easy to see who that trustee is. So it may not always be the customer on the order who's picking that item up. If you're allowing for trustees, that trustee can register with your site. and then they can pick up the product on behalf of the customer. So you can see that trustee process is in there as well. Okay. Then we talk about customer updates. And customer updates, this is something, again, that not a lot of people will look at as a big issue moving forward. And really what happens is that you get you need to be able to accommodate what happens when a customer wants to change their payment method, when they want to change their address, or they want to unsubscribe from the club in general. So having that as part of a web environment makes it very easy on you to facilitate that process. So if a customer wants to unsubscribe from a club, you can do a couple things. You can create clubs as you can have them just simply log into their account and unsubscribe from a club. You can have them contact you and say, hey, I just want to, I want to get out of the club. So you just move them to a general consumer. Now they're out of the club. They won't be included in that next process. So really, being able to manage that customer in a web environment versus, let's say, an Excel spreadsheet or in a binder, this makes it easy. So you can either log into your content management or order management system and change those customer records, or you can give the customer access to the web portal where they can log into their account and edit the settings in their account at any time. What happens in a lot of cases is that you'll get things like expired credit cards. So when I go to do a bulk order here and I say test, you can take all of those customers, and I'll just give you a visual here. Let's just say there were 10,000 eligible customers, and it would tell you how many were eligible, but it also give you the idea of how many were excluded because their card is expired. You want to have technology in place that can create a report on that, send an email to those customers saying, hey, your card is expired. If you want to get your shipment, you need to update that card. So there's a lot of different functionalities in here built to manage the customer records after the order has taken place, or after that initial club process. All right, so I'm running low on time here, so I'm going to kind of expedite through this process. The other part about that, kind of add to it, is going to be integration. So if you're using our system just for facilitating that club sign up process, for managing those club pickups, etc., how are we getting that all into your ERP? So how are we integrating that with Obeer and QuickBooks? With our system, we have those integrations built in, so you can automatically pass that data down into those platforms for accounting and inventory purposes. But it is something you'll want to think about when considering club management technology is, hey, yeah, selling $200,000 worth of product is great, but how do you account for all of it, and how do you get it into your ERP? So integration is definitely something you want to consider when thinking about managing. So let's just do a quick recap here. Some of the benefits of running a craft club are what we covered. That brand ambassadors, getting loyal customer bases, upsell and cross-sell potential, things like the VIP treatment, building those valuable relationships, and probably most important, just the reoccurring revenue that you're able to establish with clubs. The three strategies we spoke about are the simple signups, kind of that wine club approach. We spoke about the pay to play, so pay in advance for the shipments that are coming down later. And then taking that a bit further, kind of that lottery approach. You can also utilize some of those non-alcohol type of clubs. Creating and processing orders. You can see I kind of showed you kind of in a fast way how customers are using our system to create and process orders. That can really vary across the board based upon your internal processes. But when you're considering club management technology, creating and processing orders are probably more important than just the strategies around how you're going to run the club. The creating and processing orders and even the customer management can be what determine the profitability of your club overall. So two very critical pieces there that you'll want to consider when thinking about establishing a beer club. So with all that said, we can jump into some of the questions here. Let me go ahead and just click on this questions panel. I'm going to go ahead and pull this up. Get some. Okay, so one of the questions that I'm getting right now is, can the club sales pass to, the inventory or ERP platform? We did kind of talk about that. So, we have some basic settings when it comes to, so I shouldn't say basic settings. We have some integrations that are pre-built out of the box to communicate with ERPs. And when we talk about ERPs, just again to clarify, we're talking about QuickBooks, we're talking about Dynamics, NetSuite, SAP, Obeer, etc. So we have a lot of those integrations out of the box, so we can offer, passing the data down into that third party for various reasons. We also have an API, so you have the ability to, if you're using a custom program, let's say, we have the ability to pass that data down through an API. So really, the system is set up. TrueCommerce and Brewers Edge as a whole is set up to complement your ERP. So we want to do everything that your ERP doesn't from an ordering standpoint, and then make sure we're able to pass that data down to the ERP so you can account for it properly. So hopefully that answers that question there. Another quick question here. We're also selling merch. Can the online club system give club members discounts? Yes, and we did touch on that just a little bit as well. The system is smart enough, our system is smart enough to recognize when a club member logs into the storefront, is able to give them discounts on everything from merchandise to, the actual alcoholic product itself. It can do things like alter shipping methods and those sort of things. So there's a lot of, depending on which technology you're going to use, there's a lot of functionality that we want to do to recognize that customer and provide them with all of those exclusive VIP brand ambassador treatment that you're going to give them in the tap room. We want to make sure that's recognized in the web environment as well. So short answer to that is yes. The long answer is that there's a lot of functionality built into the system to accommodate that scenario. Another question is, will this tie into our existing point of sale system? And the answer on that is it depends. It depends on that existing point of sale system. It depends on the availability for that point of sale system to communicate with other third-party applications. So again, the short answer is it depends. The long answer is how, what is that existing platform and do they have availability? Again, we have an API. We have developers we can even recommend to get the two systems to talk to one another. It just all is kind of contingent upon what is there. Okay, so there are some other questions, but I am running short on time. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up here. First, I want to thank you all for attending the webinar today. It was a lot of information. So I feel that, really one of the most important but also challenging things to do for any business is to retain your customers. And clubs really provide you with the opportunity to, let your customers know that you're willing to commit to them and then reward them for their loyalty to your brand. And really establishing a club, rewarding those customers for that loyalty will help you build a large, loyal customer base that will just continue to come back to you. So with that said, if you have any questions regarding TrueCommerce Brewers Edge and how it can help your brewery or distillery or cider house, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Don't hesitate to send me an email directly. I'd be more than happy to go through your unique scenario, your unique specifications to see if we're a fit or just establishing a club in general is a fit for your business. Thank you all again. And after all that talking, I need a drink. So you guys go out and make some solid product and I'll be sure to consume. Thank you again.